Welcome back to somebody on Respect and to another edition of AEW Collision Out of 10. And as we get closer to Revolution on March 3rd, AEW has begun ramping up its storyline that will lead to the matches at the pay-per-view. And yeah, there's lots of matches taking place on this week's card which could have a big impact. And we started things off with a continuing feud really, CMLL versus the BCC. And yeah, Mox and Castanoni made their way through the crowd for the opening match against Star Jr. and everything. Mox and Star began the match with a basic headlock takeover, which led to an exchange of holds and counters. The first several minutes of this bout were surprisingly methodical. The Luchadors barely even tried to leave their feet during the 10 minutes, and they were much more focused on ground offense, which made the bout feel much more technical than the trios match the BCC had with three other CMLL talents this week. This might not have been as exciting as the trios bout on Dynamite, but in some ways it was better. Having four competitors instead of six allowed them to each focus a little bit more on themselves and build a better story. After a series of elbow strikes, Mox was able to make Star tap for the win. The former champ grabbed the mic and issued a warning to any team, which led to FTR coming out and looked tested 10 seconds before a brawl broke out. So yeah, a really good match. I thought, I like the way they're showcasing CMLL stars. BCC still look really strong going through them all. And yeah, that feud versus FTR is definitely going to be box office as and when it comes to it. So yeah, gets 7 out of 10 for me. Good stuff on the whole. We then got Daniel Garcia versus Shane Taylor. Daddy Magic accompanied Daniel Garcia to the ring, while Moriarty came out with Shane Taylor for this late addition to the card. Red Death surprised Taylor by a bit controlling the pace with a few submissions early on, but one big punch from Taylor made him rethink the strategy. From that point, Garcia was the underdog. Taylor used his size and power to dominate when he could, but Garcia refused to give up and kept trying to get into the fight. The crowd was firmly in Garcia's corner from start to finish and avoided a few big moves and locked in a knee bar to pick up a submission win. This was another in a long line of great performances from Garcia since the end of the Classic. Taylor looked good but has lost so many matches recently. It's time for him and Moriarty to get some W's, but for this alone I thought it was decent. The result here probably does make sense, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Before it was time for Brian Cage, who was in a squash match, and basically the same thing as Hook did against the Outrunners. So yeah, we'll gloss over that. Before Adam Copeland came out after a break for an in-ring interview with Tony Schiavone, shockingly Garcia showed up, still looking worn out from his match. He and Copeland ended up having to agree to a match to decide who would face Christian for the TNT title. It's going to be a banger. Before Brody took on Mark Briscoe, Julia Hart accompanied King to the ring. Briscoe's now slouch, but he was definitely the underdog here. King took control early and made the chicken farmer fight for every ref. Even though this wasn't a hardcore match, the steel chair and the table did come into it at different times. The crowd began to demand tables after Briscoe's attempt to use one was stopped by the ref. This match had some good physicality, but it didn't quite click in some ways. It felt like they were just a bit slow going into some spots when they could have been ramping it up. King ended up shoving Briscoe off the turnbuckle, and he went through the table that had been set up earlier, allowing King to score the pin and the win. So yeah, this gets a 7 out of 10 for me. I thought, it's a pretty fun match. Briscoe, like I say, is no pushover, and King, put in a really decent performance here, and I think it is definitely a momentum building win for him. We then got Deonna Purrazzo versus Kiera Hogan, and before she faced the Storm for the title, Purrazzo had a match with Hogan, and both were in baby faces, but Purrazzo was obviously the favourite. Kiera was able to get in a bit of offense, but not much, and this whole match was designed to make the Virtuator look dangerous. Unfortunately, it sounded like the crowd wasn't that really invested in it. It was noticeably quiet, which was strange after it had been a lively environment all night. Purrazzo picked up the win with her Venus de Milo submission. As she celebrated, Toni Storm made her way out to steal the spotlight with her entrance. And this gets a 6 out of 10 from me. I thought, it was a pretty decent match, but I just think there wasn't much to it, and the crowd just didn't seem too invested. So yeah, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Kind of limits it to that. Toni Storm then took on Queen Aminata, and Aminata, like I say, all the time has been on AEW TV all the time. And Collision was no exception, and the result, was no exception. Much like Purrazzo's match, this was booked to make Storm look good, but Aminata got in more offense than Hogan did in the previous bout. This one also got more time, but a few minutes of it took place during the break with picture-in-picture. There were some moments that looked a bit rough, but most of what we saw were decent. It was definitely one of Aminata's better performances in terms of how much offense she had. The women's champion picked up a non-title win with a pile driver. Storm delivered. So yeah, kind of no surprise here. It's pretty much similar to the other result. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It was great, but nothing really mind-blowing. But moving on into Orange Cassidy versus Ishii in the main event for the International Championship. The Stone Pitbull stood in the middle of the ring and easily overpowered OC during their initial lockup. Once OC realised he was outmatched, he started trying to play his usual mind games. The first half of this was all about Ishii looking like a dominant force, but the second half was devoted to building OC back up to make his eventual win feel earned. This was a good performance that highlighted the strengths of both men, and thankfully the crowd seemed to wait back up for it. Ishii kicked out of the Orange Punch and the Beach Break, but Cassidy was unable to keep him down for the pin. Eventually, the Undisputed Kingdom attacked OC and took him out before Ishii and Beretta could run down to make the save. So yeah, it gets 7 out of 10 from me. Decent match, angle to follow it afterwards. I think that's pretty much what we all expected, and yeah, for a match with the competitors involved, it pretty much delivered, and of course it was going to be great, and it turned out to be great. So yeah, 7 out of 10. Overall, AEW Collision gets a 7 out of 10 from me. I thought, yeah, pretty decent episode of Collision this week, I have to say. Lots of great stuff on there. The main event was really fun. I thought, yeah, the CNL BCC stuff, I like what they're doing with that as well. So yeah, on the whole, for our Saturday Night Wrestling this week, I thought it was a really, really decent show, and yeah, gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Hey guys, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.